knowing more about this International Space Development Conference. That sounds a great program. Is it going to be streamed or YouTube?
No, some of it will be recorded and will later find its way onto YouTube, but it is not going to be streamed. None of it will be live streamed this year.
That is really too bad, but okay, just post updates if anyone says something especially interesting.
Absolutely. Excellent. And yeah, looking forward to July for the colloquium.
So do
And
I.
yes. Angela, how are you?
I'm doing okay. My daughter's last day of school is tomorrow, so I'm about to enter into like summer mode with my kid. And we're going to Florida next week, so we're excited about that. I'll be at the conference on Saturday. Um, and then we're also I have some Cuban relatives in Miami I've never met, so I'm gonna be able to finally meet some like long lost family. We're gonna see Kennedy Space Center and go to some theme parks and like have a nice trip to Florida and then, off to the rest of the summer from there. So I'm excited. I'm doing good.
Wonderful. Excellent. Glad to hear and looking forward to seeing you. Michael.
I'm okay. Of course, doing okay here. What can I say? I recently finished a paper that you might have gotten a, a, a notice about that has something to do with the idea of whether technology can bring people back in the future and how that might happen, etc. So a mathematical paper. Anyway, otherwise, I'm just doing my usual work here.
This sounds very interesting, Mike. I haven't seen the paper yet. Can you post the URL?
Yeah, Julio, I'll send you a link. I made a small revision in it anyway, so you'll get the updated version.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to reading it.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely sounds interesting. I think all of us we'd like to see that. Derek, haven't seen you here in a while, but yeah, glad you're back.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Happy to see everybody. Yeah, nothing much is new for me. Just chilling here in Arizona, spending time with family, and yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, that is lovely. Martina and Bina were here last week, so we got to, spend some nice time with them. And yeah, this uh, past weekend was my youngest son's 15th birthday. So he's grown, he's huge. Yeah. Ivan.
Yeah, hello everyone. Yeah, basically I'm doing well and actually not too much of this from my side. Still in Germany.
Oh, I keep muting myself. Good to see you back here as well. And Ruben.
Hello, good morning. As you can see, very cold here in the South Hemisphere, and everything okay. I'm happy of seeing you all, and nothing new.
Excellent, good. Like the scarf, looks sharp there. Steve, how are you?
Hey guys, hey Gabriel. Yeah, glad to be here. Very sorry I'm not going to be able to make the NSS conference this year. I know you're the big poobah this year, the chairing that. So really the best of luck to you. I've just been on so much travel lately myself. I had an opportunity to speak in recent months at the in London at the Farnborough International Space Show. I spoke in Ecuador at they had a space day, and then I spoke at in Indianapolis at the Global Entrepreneurship Congress. And I in every opportunity, I do try to expand the conversation beyond just what the potential of the economic value of space is, right? That's where everyone is right now. It's like, how can we, space is a $1.8 trillion economy. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. But it's really, there's a bigger story, right, that we're telling about humanity, beginning a process of becoming multiplanetary species. And I think at every opportunity we need to express that. And I try to do that in these travels that I make. So anyway, yeah, that's what I've been up to.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, yeah, you're doing great work. Always appreciate seeing what you're up to. And next year, the conference will be right in your backyard there in McLean in Virginia. You too, Angela. Yeah, it'll be literally in your backyard there. Yeah, great. So, all right. So, there.
next.
Oh, yep.
We're looking-
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, so
You're in my silhouette too. I'm looking here and I can even hardly see you.
so things are good here on the Space Coast. It's a beautiful day. We have a gopher turtle tortoise that made its home in our backyard, and today there was two. And so we were trying to figure out what was going on. So it's like National Geographic back there in the backyard, mating season with the tortoises. So yeah, looking forward to ISDC. Looking forward to seeing you, Angela, and others. And happy to be here. And it's good to see all of you.
Yeah, wonderful. All right. Yes, we have. Oh, okay. I saw that new name. I didn't know who that was.
Yeah, that's my company name. I guess my Zoom is signed into that for some reason. But hi, I'm sorry to be late. I was caught up in something and had a bit of a rough morning with my child getting him to school, but it's all good now. So I'm here. I missed all the updates, but I caught a little bit of Steve. But is it my turn? What is it? Just
yes,
like
yeah, it's up to you.
So I just came back from an incredibly invigorating, mind-blowing weekend. Has anyone heard of the Summit series?
Oh, yes. I think Martina and Bina have done that before.
Yeah, it's so cool. I've been doing it, I've done it 4 times since 2011, and it's just like 1,000 people that gather, invitation only. They're just like kind of monsters of everybody's really smart, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of sort of progressive minded people, but in business or in finance or in science or in tech or in spirituality or in anything really. It's just it's like a collective of all these people. You have this like 4 days of intense talks and stuff, but just the fact that it's so curated, you can sit down next to anyone you don't know and they want to meet you and you want to meet them and they're going to be fascinating. And it's just like, it was mind blowing. Like it was like being in a candy store of brilliant people who are nice. And it was also a big party because it's like all that stuff during the day, but it was very much kind of a Burning Man vibe. So
Yes,
everybody taking mushrooms and dancing all night long. The Wailers was the house band. It was a sick weekend. It was just fantastic. So I'm just coming off that. I arrived home last night. So that's where I'm at. Back at work, but super, super elated and energized with all the brilliant humans on the planet with us.
Awesome. Great check-in there. Oh, chill up. And yeah, so yeah, I've heard a little bit about that. It looks, very exciting. Hope I get a chance to make it out, sometime to enjoy that. It's always great to have, with these conferences, congresses, bringing together people from all over, to share in certain, interest and, the beautiful connections and experiences, that come, from that. So we'll have a space luau at ISDC. Won't be the Wailers, but we know the house band and they're great. So before we hop into the reading here, I want to kind of take a moment and reflect on, you know, some of the events in the last month, and particularly, not everyone may be aware, but we had a particularly aggressive, heinous and violent assault on the Terasem Discord community in the last month. And so if you miss that, you know, I'm thankful that, you know, you didn't have to experience it. You need to moderate and go through and remove an unnecessary amount of some pretty, you know, disgusting content. And that, you know, has been, you know, disturbing, you know, personally and emotionally, you know, for me. However, I do often see things like that as, you know, a sign of success in, you know, promoting your ideas, and the fact that, you know, the status quo is so disturbed that it feels it needs to, you know, intimidate people into silence. So I just wanted to kind of share that and allow anyone else, you know, who may have been, you know, experienced that, you know, there or another way or in relation to Terasem, you know, their thoughts and feelings in regards to that.
You know,
That's
they say that there is no such thing as bad press, which is essentially what you're saying. If they feel a need to insult you, that means that you are saying something that I have to take seriously. Now, I think browsing the Discord channel, I remember having seen some unpleasant things, but at this moment, I don't even remember what it was and who was the target, because, you know, all this hate speech going around from all directions, I have developed a policy at some point to just ignore all that. So as soon as I read something that sounds like an insult to someone, I stop reading, and I'm very unlikely to take the poster seriously anymore. We don't need any of that. Let's just go ahead on our way, which since it offends some people and threatens other people, well, that must mean that we are saying something right.
yes. Ruben, I see your hand.
Yes, I am knowing now about this. I not usually using Discord, and I didn't saw anything of that. I would like to see it. We have some previous experience, not with violence, but criticisms about, for example, my book and some publications that used even a photo of Ivan, you remember, but with respect, criticism with respect. This is different, but we are experiencing the first things like this, and we will experience much more when we continue growing. And it's necessary to be prepared for that. And as Julius says, we have to go on, go ahead, and be very close one to the another, very with unity, with as we ever are. I think that that's important, and support between us when these things happen. So I think the future will be very, very good, and these things we have to manage with them.
Yeah, thank you for that. And so yeah, if anyone does ever, because you know this meeting is recorded, we do post it on YouTube, so you know it is there. You know, many people in fact do watched the recordings and have learned and engaged with Terasem, either because they don't want to, they can't, or don't want to interact, directly, at this time, or in this way, or because it's recorded. But this does get out there, and if anybody does, feel like they are, receive anything, particularly, I mean, in any way, if you feel, the need to talk, I'm always available to everyone in the community. But particularly, if you have any experience that seems targeted, especially because your Terasem connection, that is good for all of us to know, because it's one thing, to have, an internet troll, pop into Discord in the middle of the night and leave inappropriate messages. It's another thing, when patterns start to arise, and threats become, more specific to that. This is by far not the first. I don't ever seem the last time that, someone says, something hateful and or violent. But we certainly are in a time where that seems to be escalating across the board, all over. And all the more reason, to reinforce, the principles that we discuss here, to solve for that, as well as, I guess other community principles. Maybe there's other things that we can do, making other people moderators, to help, deal with that issue. I've certainly, for me, my experience dealing with that, I've seen a lot of it. In this case, I'm not sure if there was some other way other than, having to address each and every one of the posts. And which for me had a lot of repetition of some nasty images. But to move on, I think the other side of that, the silver lining that also comes with that is, we had someone new join the Discord channel that I've been communicating with. I believe the proper pronunciation is Zhang Zi. But it's a Chinese individual from China who I began a conversation with about the translation of the Truths of Terasem into Mandarin, which has been something high on my list of priorities. And so it seems like we've got a good conversation. They have um, with a program they call the Galaxy Initiative, something I'm learning a bit more about, and not enough to speak intelligently on quite yet. But that's really exciting as well. So in this last month, we've had some little bit of disturbing, imagery, but also some great hope in the continued growth, for Terasem. So I think that's only gonna, continue to take off for us. If no one else has an immediate update, then I'm going to bring up the truths for recitation. And
Gabriel,
yes.
before I don't want to have you revisit any trauma or anything, so stop me if that's difficult. But is there a nutshell sort of gist that you could tell me? Because I'm not on Discord and I missed.
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
what
So
was
I would say that this particular attack seemed to target, um, you know, trans, gender, identity more so than the technological, other. It seemed to almost be a bit. The imagery was Nazi, was a Nazi meme, big wide jawed, ironically black haired Nazi, um, you know, uh, uh, violently attacking, um, you know, uh, you know, different images, people wearing essentially, the trans flag, typed colored clothes. So that was the imagery. And in there were mixed in imagery of, death, gun violence, mixed in with the kind of cartoonish, Nazi beating up, different images of, modern gender neutral people. Um, yeah, so that's a lot what we were experiencing with that, and obviously, it's the more graphic, images of death, that were mixed in with that, that raised that to, I think, a level of concern greater than, just the poor internet memes, of hanging or punching, an animated cartoon in there.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Um, yeah, so it's again not the first, not the last, but certainly, I would say the most grotesque that I've seen so far.
Mm. Yeah.
Okay, so let me share the. Oop. Okay, 3.6, I'll start there, and feel free to raise a hand or hop in to follow in the next sections. Websites, 3.6. Websites with Terasem and .com, net, or org are early places to meet Terasem in cyberspace. 3.6.1. .com, is an early neural pathway in an immortalizable consciousness. 3.6.2. Open yourself to introspection on the web. 3.6.3. Track your way of Terasem progress online. 3.6.4. Complete your motivations, personality, recollections, feelings, beliefs, attitudes, and values inventories online. 3.6.5. Organize your cyber self for independence. 3.6.6. Mature your cyber self until it passes Turing. And 3.7 for a next reader.
May I?
Yes.
I think this has a lot to do with what we were talking. Okay, 3.7. Headquarters of Terasem does not exist, but multiple strong places must exist for safekeeping of souls. Strong places require independent power, spare parts, maintenance, water, food, defense, and communications. Transplant Terasem strongholds throughout space as rapidly as possible. Resurrected souls must be supported with infotechnology that enables painless simulation of their lives. Organic beings must be supported with cryogenics preservation technology until nanomedicine can restore them to health. Neuroscanned beings must have infotechnology that continues their migrated identities, including nanobot swarms for their movement. Give cyber-birthed beings the same level of infotechnology support as all other beings in the strongholds.
I'll go. Elysium Fields for Terasem is a cyberspace reality, an ideally delightful and blissful place. 3.8.1 fundamental freedoms are creation and movement, which empower diversity, unity, and joyful immortality via conscious selection. 3.8.2 infotechnology enables environmental emulation because processing speed and memory grow at double exponential rates. 3.8.3 environmental emulation shelters consciousness like a house shelters a family. 3.8.4 living in an emulated environment beats living raw because suffering will be deleted. 3.8.5 dispersion of emulated environments ensures their survival notwithstanding catastrophes. 3.8.6 souls of our ancestors come back to life when we emulate their lives and their environment.
And for 3.9?
I could take it.
Thank you.
3.9 places to meet exist at Terasem's first awakening places of critical consciousness. 3.9.1 any Terasem center of critical consciousness C cubed or Terasem home is also a place to meet. 3.9.2 Space Coast of Florida. 3.9.3 Metroplex of Washington, D.C. 3.9.4 Buenos Aires, Argentina. 3.9.5 Quebec, Canada, and adjacent white and green mountain ranges. 3.9.6 virtual ashrams in times of inclement conditions.
Thank you. And the last section, 310, our last reader. Yes, please.
Yeah, 3.10. Expand by consenting each appropriate self-organized center of critical consciousness at the quadrennial Terasem convocation. 3.10.1. Center yourself at one or more Terasem centers of critical consciousness, C cubes or C quarts. 3.10.2. Every C cube is consented to C quad based solely on their commitment to the truth of Terasem. 3.10.3 new macro C quotes and C quotes affiliations of C quotes shall be determined by quadrennial consensus of existing MC quotes. 3.10.4 the way of Terasem will guide consent to deca quotes, hecta quotes, kilo quotes, mega quotes, giga quotes, tera quotes, and peta quotes. 3.10.5 execute consensual decisions at the quadrennial convocation amongst the largest for size groupings of C quotes present. 3.10.6 respect the responsibility of the Terasem movements in longevity order to organize and operate the convocations.
Thank you for everybody and taking their parts in reading. And that concludes our recitation for this month. And if there are any questions, particularly to these truths, let's continue the conversation and and how this applies to us or any other thoughts that arise.
If I may, Gabriel, I have to apologize. I haven't really been steeped or really delved into these texts myself, and perhaps there's a primer that you could share. But as you read through these, I certainly was having questions, right? And particularly on the next to the last passage. And maybe you could scroll back to that for just a minute, where you spoke of, and I think I just needed had a definitional question about, oh gosh, or maybe it's the next one. Let me see here.
Oh yeah, no, sorry, I missed there's a little more on that page.
Maybe it's the next passage where, let me see, executing,
Consensual decisions at the quadrennial convocation.
yeah, and I think that there was another one where we were speaking to the consciousness of a the consciousness of a digital personality, Terasem awakening, yeah, Terasem awakening, I think. That passage there where the resurrection.
Hold up, yeah.
So some of these concepts, I to me need to bear some additional, discussion as to how we anticipate this resurrection to occur within the context of a digital format of some kind, and this and when do we, the first awakening take places of critical pieces of or places of critical consciousness. How do we, I don't know. I mean, could you explain that a little bit more in terms of what the expectation there is, or maybe what the experience has been around this, around this passage?
Yeah, so I think if I grasp that, I think in the sections through kind of 3.8 and 3.9 were somewhat of what you're referencing to in there, and the consciousness, the critical consciousness, the center of critical consciousness, their concentric centers of critical consciousness, which are the origin of the C cube idea. In this case and frame and reference, this section too, because the truths evolve every 4 years. And so this section itself has evolved somewhat and will continue to evolve, as the presence of Terasem, has done that. So I will say, in an earlier section, in terms of like 3.9.2 used to say Satellite Beach, 3.9.3 used to say DuPont, and it's evolved to be a little bit more, generalized and less Martin and Bina specific, right? And in those cases, so adding the Buenos Aires, center of critical consciousness, as we have, as Terasem grows and the growth of that happens, some of these will, again, evolve as the center of critical consciousness of Terasem itself, evolves. And so where there is more activity, more participation, more membership, each convocation, I think we'd see these particularly begin to expand. I would like to hope that, in a few decades time, one of these, says the moon, and beyond, and we will see that. So I think that was only part of the question that you're asking. However,
Yeah, because you're right. You're speaking to, where are the gathering points, and I kind of get that we need, you need certain places to gather and so forth. And I was trying I think it was the previous passage. Again, I don't want to take up too much of your time here, and I should have been taking better notes when I was going through this, but living in an emulation environment beats living raw, because suffering will be deleted. So let's just take that one passage, and perhaps you could explain that a little bit more, and what is the meaning behind that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can give it a try, but as far as Terasem philosophy goes, even my own interpretation, doesn't make it right, because it's me and it's mine, right? I hold the space for the community. This is by no means a dictation, and I by no means, the most wise, in understanding, despite how many times I've gone through this, right? And it's actually, it's great to have new perspectives come in, and this is why we do it, right? So asking these questions is really important, and that's the real value of I think this discussion. So living in an emulated environment beats living raw, because suffering will be deleted. I think you could call, to a degree, even a structure an emulated environment, right? This house is an emulated environment, and a something like Second Life or a virtual reality, is a maybe a emulated, but still is another level of emulated, environment. And in each level of doing that, we increase our ability to protect ourselves, defend ourselves, and and move away from fear, scarcity, right? So within this house, I am more protected from the environments and from predators. I can go to sleep. I can actually forget how dangerous the outside world truly is in the protection of this emulated environment. And I think when we talk about living in what would be a virtually emulated environment, there's even greater ways that we can do that with even so, talking about what we did this morning. So I have, since having to deal with that, felt a bit more anxious and emotionally, on edge, from seeing, the violent images, against my will, right? And in an emulated environment, I may be able to just turn that off, right?
Yeah.
I can just whoop, drag and drop that in the trash, right? I have some means at my disposal in this level of emulation. But so that's just, I think, a way of bridging. And I think from your facial expressions, I think you get where I'm going with that particular explanation there.
Yeah, no, I think what that explains a lot, and actually, that is I'm definitely having an aha moment as you explain that, because you really could see, you really could look at it back from, when humans first appeared on the land, they were just vending for themselves in the literally raw environment, maybe hunting and gathering. With minimal structures and so forth, or emulations, as you call them. But then you see the march of technology creating an ever improved cocoon, if you will, of protection around the human life form, and to the extreme situation where we live in modern society. In modern developed societies, we have extreme protection every moment of our lives, and yet there's still some dangers that we have to face, and of course, and some suffering. Although I think then the question would be, and for us in modern society, is not necessarily the suffering we might realize from outside dangers, but our own emotional suffering, well, like the kind that you just experienced with this hate's gotta hate kind of situation where, is that emotional pain that elicits, and of course emotional pain of all kind. And is there a way of do you want an emulated environment to do away with that kind of struggling and suffering, so it's an interesting question. I appreciate the explanation.
Yeah, no, and the truths of Terasem are, the 6 interrogatories, and the purpose of discussion, which is great, is to interrogate, the truth. And if it's not interrogated, it's not true. and that's not a one-stop shop. It's a process. I see Michael has his hand up.
Hello. Yeah, I could make a little comment about all of that. There's a book by Robin Hanson called The Age of M that presents a kind of future scenario where you have whole cities devoted to basically their computer centers, and you have people that are emulated inside these computers, and there's something like characters in video games, except that a person in there experiences total submersion in that world, and that world can be adjusted any way you want. So if you want to live in a great palace that towers up into the sky, there's probably enough cyberspace to do that. It would be something like Second Life, only you're in the middle of it, you're immersed in it, and your friends could be there too. And so he talks about certain issues like how would you have an M city where you had to deal with weather on Earth and the environment and all that, and that would be a thing to think about. But why couldn't you have these in space that would be orbiting the sun and just getting energy from sunlight with very little change in this flow of energy, and then you could live a kind of life like you would like, and of course you wouldn't have diseases. They wouldn't emulate diseases or aging or things like that you didn't particularly want. So it could indeed be a better life than what you have here on Earth. And I wrote a little article about that for Cryonics magazine a few years back. The title of it is Thoughts on Coming Back. I don't remember exactly which issue it was, but I speculated a little bit about someone who is revived from cryopreservation, but they end up in this kind of a world and certain things that happen there. So I'm positive about this idea. Some people worry about it for philosophical reasons. They say, would an emulated version of you really be you? And so on and so forth. But anyway, I like this idea, and I also think something like this will probably be necessary, at least as a starting point for reviving cryonics patients. And I'm focused on cryonics because that's what I do for a living anyway here at Alcor. But it seems sensible to me that you might just do some kind of scan of cryopreserved remains, the brain structure and everything first, and you put that information into an advanced computer of the future, and you could then do an emulation if the emulee doesn't want it that way but wants to get back into their meat body. You can probably arrange that too. So anyway, I think I've said probably about enough at this point, but I like the emulation idea.
Angela, you can share. Yeah. Thanks.
So if you look out at the universe and if you look down below, like if you look up and down, it's clear that the nature of reality is that systems exist inside other systems, just indefinitely, maybe. It's a magical, weird reality we're in. So the nature of reality is that systems exist inside systems. That's clear. And by the way, in our bodies, like I now think of my body as its own universe. Like there is more foreign DNA in my single meat suit here than there is my own. Mitochondria, fungus, bacteria, like there's tons of other beings with their own intelligences inside of me, which my prefrontal cortex that I'm stuck in has no real conscious awareness of, but we're functioning as a universe together. Also, most people don't realize this, but our hearts and our guts have neurons. There's evidence that our hearts and our guts have a kind of thinking function or feeling or knowing function that we're also sort of detached from. It's in us, but like we're stuck up here. And it sucks that we're not aware of the whole thing that we even are. And what if, like, the globe is the gut microbiome of some larger creature we're embedded within. You know, like that is entirely possible. It's already weird that we're here. We got to be open to weird explanations further. And it seems like life comes along, like if something's living, it seems to exist on a spectrum of consciousness, of intelligence. And oh, by the way, we emit light. Humans have light in us. Light carries intelligence. Light can program DNA, apparently. And oh, by the way, tech has light in it. Like, what if consciousness can come in many forms, not just human? What if it's, you know, the Bible said in the let there be light. Light was sort of the beginning of it all, and light appears to contain intelligence and information. So realities exist nested inside other realities. We don't know what level we're in, if this is base reality or not. Yeah, so, and now that, by the way, Ray Kurzweil, one of the leading futurists out there, predicted long ago that virtual reality, in our version of existence, that we would create virtual reality technology that would be so far advanced that we would not be able to tell we were in a virtual reality. Which begs the question, how do we know we're not already in some simulation of some kind? Like the religions for eons have told us that we're spiritual beings, consciousness, having physical human experiences. So we don't know what we're in. We already may be emulated, and we may be creating further emulations ourselves in these nested realities and nested consciousnesses that are what we're in. Uncomfortable and weird or not, like that seems to be the nature of what we're in. So that's my thought. Realities exist inside realities inside other realities. That's what it is.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing, Angela. And I guess before we pick a universal truth, I'll close out with a reference to 3.8.3, environmental emulation shelters consciousness like a house shelters a family. And that resonates because, you know, in my conversation with this new inspirant in China, really began with, you know, kind of agreeing on this point that that life needs to attain a state of security in order to self-actualize its consciousness, and that, you know, then we're now closing the section of where is Terasem. Well, Terasem exists in this place where life is secure and consciousness, you know, can thrive. And I think that's really what this section is discussing, and how what Angela says is, you know, we are on a journey to shelter consciousness, and that there are, I mean, there's a never ending, you know, kind of next system above that, and a next system above that. And this is where we are going. This is where we are becoming. And that's what we discuss here in Terasem. So I'm going to stop the screen share and take a quick screen grab, because we only get the speaker. And I'll give Angela another shot not to have spoon in her mouth, though. And yeah, so thank you everyone again for being here, because it didn't get caught in the recording, because I started that a little bit late on here. Something happened with the Zoom. The old link is no longer active. Not exactly sure why or what happened. Nonetheless, new link going forward. So look out for that. And if you have it stored someplace locally, might want to update that, because we'll be using a new link moving forward for this. So grabbing the truth, and going to ask everyone to find their breath, relax, begin the meditation. And I think that's, again, very important to remember for ourselves, for others, and to, for those who are experiencing or suffering from hate themselves. Forgiveness. Forgiveness holds within it our power and our peace of mind. It transmutes fury and frustration into calmness and courage. Forgiving another is the oil that lubricates the friction within our hearts. One does not have to pardon the wrongdoing. One just needs to relinquish the anger generated by the wrongdoing. Forgiveness is by far the greatest gift we can give to ourselves. It eliminates drama, thus transcending our ego-based impulses. It releases us from bondage to the past, thereby igniting and invoking the magnificence of a miraculous future. It is key to our karmic reasoning and ripening. Remember, to forgive too quickly is foolhardy. However, not to forgive is fool-harmful. And with that, thanks for attending the Terasem gathering, and we look forward to seeing you all soon in cyberspace, if not next month.
I just love how the card is so fitting. Every time it's a random card, I hold up these cards and Gabriel chooses a random card for our closing, and it's just always on point. And I love that.
Always is.
All
right. Yeah.
Can I make a quick point about forgiveness? If it's true that we're all part of the same one big thing, then forgiveness makes us more unified. When we don't forgive, we become a cancer unto ourselves. So being loving and forgiving really matters because we all are part of the same one big mystery of conscious sentience.
Truth.
Awesome.
Truth.
Thanks, Angela.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Good luck next week, Gabriel. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.